We're at the World Government Summit, Government Services Forum 2024, and I have with me Ryan North, world-renowned writer across the world. He's known for his humor, for his work that he's done across the board with companies such as Marvel and others. Ryan, welcome to the conference.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
So you're here again, we met last year.
We did.
What are you talking about this year?
This year I'm talking about, the talk is called How to Be a Digital Supervillain. And it's basically trying to combine the comics part of my life and the computer science part of my life together to inspire people to think like the bad guy so you never have to beat the bad guy, to be preemptive with your computer security.
That's incredible because here we are at a government summit and nobody wants to be the bad guy, right? It's not good practice to be the bad guy. How do governments take that idea and transform it into a persona of a good guy rather than be the bad guys?
Well, often when you're looking at anything new, any new technology or service, it's so easy to see the upsides, the use cases, how this can make people's lives better. But you also have to look at the abuse cases. How can this be misused by a bad actor? And when you're thinking like that, and you don't need any special degrees, it's just imagination. When you think like the bad guys, you can see what they would do and then get there first to prevent them from doing it.
So let's think about this scenario, right? A government employee starts their career, whatever age they do that, or somebody enters government. Wouldn't it be nice to give them an exercise of creating a persona that's acceptable, that's positive, and all of that? Should government start doing that as a training practice?
You know, it's an interesting question. I feel like anything that you can do to make the people working for you more effective in their jobs is something that's worth doing. It's so easy to start having the system determine what you're going to do. Like we have a series of check marks and benchmarks, and if you hit those, you're doing a good job. But if you can go beyond that in different ways, that's the sort of entrepreneurship that I think pays dividends.
Excellent. What do you think is the common trait between all the superheroes that you write about, you cover? Is it something very generic that we all know, or is it something nobody knows about? Like, what is it that defines superheroes?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, I think the core of all of them is something that is core to humanity too, which is simple. It's one word, it's hope. It's believing that things can be better, and it's believing that your actions can make the world a better place. And that is something that you can have superpowers and do it, or something you can do as just a regular person every day. I think that's what we like so much about superheroes, is that they show us our best selves. They show us someone who isn't afraid of failure, who isn't afraid of looking silly. They're wearing tights. Like they've got the body confidence for ages, but they're willing to put themselves out there and take the chance and believe that things can be better. And that is, I think, an eternal myth, and it's something that is core to all the superheroes, I'd say.
Yeah, you mentioned hope. The world is constantly transforming, going through its ups and downs and struggles and whatnot. And while people are expected to, put a brave face out there and show how brave you are and how strong you are, I feel like people need to be personal superheroes in their own lives. What are your thoughts on that, and what can you tell us about that?
It's a great concept, a personal superhero in your own life. I think if you're aiming for that, if you're trying to be this personal superhero, then you're getting up every morning and trying to be your best self, saying, you know what, I'm not going to give in to cynicism. I'm not going to be jaded. I'm not going to act like I've seen it all before. I'm going to stand there, put myself out there and say, yeah, let's do it. Let's make the world a better place. And it's so easy to sound silly when you talk about that straightforwardly, but I think that's what we're all here to do. Like, whether at this summit or in general, I think we all want to make the world a better place. Maybe that's my Canadian optimism, but I feel like that is something that unites us all on a fundamental level. We'd like for things to be better.
Absolutely.
And so trying to do that day to day, I think, is great. I think that's fundamentally human.
What are your final question? What's your suggestion, recommendations for people within government that are here, people who are in the private sector who are here to meet with government leaders? What should they do to achieve success, be incredible at what they do in your frame of mind and in the way you teach about being a superhero? What should they do? 1, 2, 3.
Hard question, but a good question. I think the first step is to grab onto that hope, to believe that things can be better. The second step is to put the work in to find out what those steps are. Because it's one thing to say, like, yeah, I'd like for things to be better. It's another thing to be like, here are 3 things we can do today to take positive steps in the right direction. And I think one thing that's great to keep in mind, whether in superheroes or real life, is not to let perfect be the enemy of the good. There are pluses and downsides to a lot of action, but if you can find a way forward that leaves the world a better place than it was when you found it this morning, I count that as a win.
Amazing. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us again at the summit, and thanks so much.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you. Great. Could we do a thing where Ryan says who he is, like he says, "Hi, I'm Ryan North, and this is who I am."
Sure.
So I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself. So 3, 2, 1.